to have long careers. But yeah, it's nice that these three guys can kind of grow together.
How important was it to let Andre James know he was still the center?
I just think the more clarity you can give players, the better. And I've always been kind of sensitive to everybody we're drafting coming in here. There's already somebody here. They're coming in to compete for somebody's job. So it's always a kind of a stressful weekend, I think, for everybody. It's stressful for the draft picks. They're going to a new team. They go in and compete and win a job, and the players that are here, they got more competition coming in. So so I just wanted to make sure I know. I just wanted to give if you can give someone clarity when you can, you try and do it. So
does it feel more and more like it's going to be Gardner against Aiden? No, none of them, no quarterbacks went tonight. I don't know what your plans are for the future, but is that kind of in going into camp your kind of assessment?
As I sit here right now, that's it. Yeah.
Tom, both you and Antonio Pierce, shortly after you got hired, said you wanted to build this team through the trenches, and it seemed like you really leaned into that today with your 2 picks on the offensive line. Was this sort of an intentional effort to address that position group in the draft?
Yeah, it was, and free agency too. We just kind of felt as we build this football team out, it really has to start on both sides of the ball, offense and defensive line. That was my thought when I originally arrived here. AP had the same thought, which is perfect, same vision. We've got some work to do. We know that. But this is not like a total rebuild. But we do feel like it really has to start offensive line, defensive line. Fully knowing even on the offensive line, it's not really you really can't do it all in 1 year. But there are already some pieces in place here, which is great to know. We re-signed Andre James. We dropped a couple players, get some more depth in here, which we really need, as much depth as possible. But yeah, it was intentional.
Tom, how important is versatility in these players when it comes to your equation of best player available?
Really, really important. Certainly on the offensive line, it really is important. It's really difficult if you're not a starter. So if you're 6, 7, or 8, or even 9 in the offensive line room, if you can only play one position, it's just really hard to get you dressed on Sundays. Guards have to be able to play tackle or center. Tackle that be able to play guard, so it just helps your flexibility in playing. As we all know, like the group you start with, injuries are going to happen, and you guys are going to have to be able to move different spots. So the versatility is really important. And then even with Brock Bowers, that's a huge part of this. That you saw it. I mean, you guys have seen him, so you can play some tight end. You can move him out as a big slot. You can put him as a wing. Put him in the backfield if you want to. So. That's kind of where the league is right now with some of these guys. But the more versatility, the better. It's harder to prepare for that. So for the opponent.
As we transition into day 3, I know all of these guys have a development aspect to them: first round, second round, third round. But as we get into this stage of the draft, are there any traits that that you sort of focus on in this part of the draft? Transferable traits on
day 3. Yeah. You're still looking for some traits that you think could be a potential starter down the road. Fully knowing that most of these guys aren't going to walk into a starting job, and I think I said last week, it's like 30% of these rookies will actually play a significant amount of snaps a rookie year. So the thought that you're filling needs, really on day 2 and day 3, it's it may look good on paper, but it's not reality. So, and day 3, as far as the character and tangible part, that's the same as every other round. But yeah, we are looking for some traits that we think, hey, he'll have a role short term, but we think he may have a couple of traits that could lead to be a starter down the road.
Going back to the quarterback thing, what have you seen so far from Aiden and Gardner this offseason that gives you excitement about the training camp battle?
I'm going to be honest. We haven't done anything. They've been, lifting and running, and I've been getting ready for the draft. So I just haven't seen enough other than them interacting with their teammates and them interacting with each other, which has been really positive. But as far as actual on-field stuff, I just haven't seen anything yet. But we'll get that, real. That's why I can't wait to get through this day 3 and get the team here, get all the players here, and start getting on the grass and getting a better feel for everybody. So.
Tom, yesterday you talked about taking the best player available on the board. How did you feel about getting Jackson Powers Johnson where you did at the second round, 44th pick?
Yeah, really happy, and that was one where we felt like the best talent there lined up with we wanted to add to the offensive line, so that was the perfect combination. Doesn't always work like that. We can't manufacture players, so if you do have a specific need you love to fill, but if there's nobody there on your board that kind of fits it, you just can't go reaching around and manufacture somebody. And everybody's boards are a little different. There's no one big consensus board. If there was, I'd love to hear the GM of the consensus board. I mean, I can't. It's like the Brock Bowers of the world. You can get some consensus, but after that, I mean, you put football people in a room. There's no way everyone's going to see someone the same way. It just doesn't work like that. Just like with my 3 kids, there's no way I can get consensus with those 3. So it's no different. But since we all see it differently, you got to work it. But it was really nice with Jackson that, hey, look, we'd love to add to the offensive line if we could. He's a high-level player for us, and we got lucky that we the second round was a frenzy. There was, a lot of trade action, a lot of work. Third round was much more quiet, but we got lucky in the second to get where we were.
Early in coaches' careers, like AP's a defensive coach, sometimes they think that much, but watching him, we see video and all that, he's celebrating these offensive picks. I'm just curious, is that a maturity maybe that you wouldn't have expected in a first-year coach?
It's just great to see. I mean, he's the head coach. He's coaches the whole team. But it's a great trait to see. We know we have to put the whole team together. We added a couple, in free agency and on defense, or certainly with Christian Wilkins. But then re-signing some of our own players. But just trying to balance the roster the best you can. Your allocation of resources are important, and trying to use them in the right spots. And he's got a great feel for that.
I know you talked about Brock last night, but having him in the building today, meeting his family, that sort of thing, what was it like to have him around?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I wish we'd get him on the practice field right now. He can't come back until rookie minicamp, but it's nice to see him. He brought his parents with him. Everyone got a chance to spend some time with them. I'm assuming you guys did too. So I can't wait to get going with him. He's all football, so we can't wait to get him out here.
Tom, just briefly meeting the guys today, it sounds like they have great character. How much of the character, the demeanor, plays a factor in this draft?
It's a big part of it. This is a very difficult game to play. There's a lot of adversity, both personal adversity and team adversity, and you got to be able to handle that at a high level. And there's sometimes there's talented players that just can't handle that, and we need guys that we can count on and have a drive and desire to be great. Because if you're just talented but you don't have that drive and desire, you're just going to probably plateau out as a player. So that's what we're trying to find in everybody we sign or draft. And sometimes we're right and sometimes we miss on it. But those traits are important to us because there's just so much work that goes into be a professional football player. That's more than just going out on game day and playing. So these 3 kids, these 3 players, not kids anymore, but these 3 players, we think they have those traits.
That's good.
All right. Thank you. See you tomorrow.
All right. Come on.
Thanks.